Welcome. This is the Enlightenment Podcast, part of the Authors on Air Global Radio Network. And I'm your host, Laurie Schoenfeld. Thank you for all of those who are joining us and listening in today for this enlightening Monday afternoon. I'm super excited to introduce you to our guest, Renee Reisch. She is a woman who is extremely inspiring, who has a story that is just very empowering, all about the value in finding your voice. Welcome, Renee.
Laurie, thank you so much for having me on your show. I am very grateful to be here. It's Renee Reisch, and this is such an honor because you and I have been friends, and to be able to share our voices together. We both have stories around the voice, and this is a beautiful platform in which we're both able to share it. And our stories is what helps enlighten others and give them the courage to go through what they are growing through. So it is really powerful. So thank you so much for allowing me to be on your show.
You're so welcome. It is an honor to have you here with us. You are an author, a motivational speaker, a transformational coach, and as you'd mentioned, we both have quite the passion for talking about finding your voice and the value within your voice. Can you share with our listeners why you're so passionate about sharing this topic?
Really, it's because I lost mine in 2013 to a devastatingly painful illness. It was a virus. And as we know, with what's going on today with COVID, viruses are very contagious, and they couldn't give me any kind of shot or anything. It was something that was in my whole system, and I was unable to be with the public. I remember I was in the ER when it first happened, and I had this little voice that was left, and I asked the doctor as I'm laying on this gurney, I said, "Am I contagious?" And he looks down, he goes, "You're highly contagious. You can't be with the public." And Lori, as you know, I'm a huge connector, and I love being with people. I love connecting with people. And right now I'm not really with people, but I am through Zoom. And that is, thank God for technology. So I'm grateful for that. And it's the power of our voices that we can make a difference in this world. And I'm grateful to have mine back. I was working corporate America. And in 2013, I was taking care of everybody else but that girl looking back at me in the mirror and being the people pleaser and fear of judgment and never feeling like I could ever be enough, was ever enough. And as you're running through life, not taking care of yourself, we hear self-care is so important. It truly is. It's not selfish, it's selfless. You can then serve others, like, pouring from the empty cup. My cup was cracked into a million pieces. And what happened is I also went into a million pieces and was pulled out of life. So much so that I actually fell into a depression while I was going through this illness because I had no voice. I had no contact. I was in pain that I couldn't even express or explain because it was so intense. And I'm not staying in that pain. That's not the point of this. It's to show about getting through it and the resiliency. And it's about having people in your corner to help you through that time in your life. And I had with me at the time, my best friend, who is still with me in another way right now, looking over me, and my dad as well. So I'm grateful for our angels that are still with us and the ones that are here on earth. So it makes a big difference having people who are supportive of you, who love you unconditionally, and to know that you're not alone. And that's what helps us get through those times when we don't know if there is a light at the end of the tunnel, because we only see the dark. We don't see the light. And that's what it took. So having a best friend with me then who would come to my place with a mask on pre-COVID, as I said, 2013, and she would come up the stairs with food that she made for me and things that she bought at the store that she thought I could try to muster down, like Jello or something that was easy to swallow. Quite frankly, nothing was easy to swallow, but I knew the love behind it was so great. And I knew that she wanted me to survive what I was going through. And so I did. And it was having that support. As I said, I keep emphasizing it because it's so important. So it took about 1 year, along with the help of a vocal coach who I will never forget, to get my voice back. And I was quarantined for about 4 months. So it was a real difficult time. But as I said, I'm on the other side of it, to give, to serve, and to share with others, to let them know that they're not alone. I truly believe, Lori, that the physical loss of my voice manifested from the metaphoric loss of my voice in life. For all those reasons I said, not feeling good enough, for being a people pleaser, for feeling judged, for all of those things, that they were probably stories I told myself, but yet it manifested so much and so great that it pulled me out of the one thing I wanted to do, was to serve others and to be with other people, to help them. And I no longer could because I wasn't helping myself. So how many people out there have done that, whether you're in your corporate job, and you could be a leader. I was a leader in corporate America. My teams did great. They went to number one, but I was sinking into the ground because I didn't care about taking care of me. I did anything I could to be there for other people. But the thing you learn is you can't if you're not there for you. So that's what I'm here to let you know. I was given this vehicle back. I am a vessel with a voice to be able to help other people.
So communication, I know that you and I are both talkers and connectors. So this is that lack of communication that you felt for a year before you got your voice back. What were some ways that you were able to communicate in a different form to help yourself be able to express what you're feeling?
Great question. I've been on many podcasts. Nobody's ever asked me that one. That's a good question. Quite frankly, and I wasn't spiritual at the time. So I always like to say, I wish I could tell you I did all this inner work and I was doing this, speaking to myself positively in my head. I wasn't in the space I'm in today. I would look out my window, like this hospital window, just looking outside, watching life pass by me. And I didn't really want to be around anymore because I didn't see any hope. There was nothing there was no glimmer of hope. But every day when I woke up, there had to have been a reason, because otherwise I wouldn't be here today. And it's to be that leader for other people and to let them know not to give up. There's a bracelet that I found in my best friend's drawer. I should have had it out here. Give me 1 second. I'm going to grab it's right here. I didn't really think about it. I carry her in my heart and the bracelet with me. And this is what it is. It says, never give up. I found it after she transitioned, and it's a little bit faded because I was wearing it too much, so I stopped wearing it, but I carry it with me. And never giving up is a big part of life, because it's easy to give up and give in. It's like, just throw in the towel kind of thing. And a lot of times we want to do that because you keep going and going and going. It's like, when is it going to end? And I really believe that when you show up for life, life shows up for you. And I think that's a big piece of it. And sometimes it's not easy to show up to life, but when you have friends around you, like you, Lori, who come in and sweep you up when you're feeling down, and you have people there for you, it makes a big difference. And your family, my mom has been amazing. She's been amazing. She's an amazing, amazing force in my life. It makes a big difference. She's been with me in this whole journey. I have two brothers that don't live close by, and so I don't really communicate with them as much. But I do see my mom quite often, and she's been along this journey with me side by side since day one. And my sister-in-law's been great too. So it's really having these people in your life that know you and love you through all of it. through all of it. People don't always see the behind the scenes, which isn't always pretty. They see you on social media, and I'm all over social media. I always put positivity out there. There are days where I'm not always feeling that, but I know that there are people waiting for my posts because I always put uplifting content up. And in doing so, it helps lift me up too because I know I'm impacting other people in a positive way. So I do it no matter how I'm feeling because I know there are people waiting for my voice through my words.
Did you feel as you lost your voice that you were also going through an identity loss to some
Did I feel like I
extent?
was going through an identity loss? Um, I, you're asking great questions. I was going through one, but I didn't realize it
Mhm.
because it was a sense of self. I mean, I defined my identity as this corporate woman who was always on top of things, you know, always striving for number one and was number one a lot of times, many times, in our district, our region, our company, and the country. I did it as well. I mean, I'm a driver and and a leader, and I was leading teams to great successes. As I said, as I was doing that, I was sinking further and further down because I never took time out. It's like, oh, I wrote about it in a book that I wrote, and we'll talk about it soon, that, I look forward to my days off, not to take a breath or give back to me. I look forward to my days off to see what more I could do for my teams and my job. And I would plan. I'm like, okay, if I wake up at this time, I could do this, this, and this, and I'll just take maybe 15 minutes to grab a bite, and then I could still stay up to maybe till midnight or one. And if I get this, I'll at least have 4 hours of sleep or 5 hours sleep. I could, like that hamster wheel, and that is not a way to live because eventually there's burnout. And I'm like, no, I could do it. I could do it. I could do it. Just keep going, and eventually you can't you keep going until you can't, right? You keep going until you don't. And it wasn't me who stopped, I was stopped. There's a greater power that said you are just going down the wrong path and you are going to just blow up and expire before your time. And there's a greater purpose, as I said, for me being here. And I didn't know it at the time, as I said, but you're right. I defined myself by what I did rather than who I was.
Mm.
And I think when you get caught in that thought, then it's a dangerous place to be because then you're always striving to be enough and expectations. And expectations can lead to disappointments because you're expecting more of yourself than you can give, and you can never give enough, especially if you feel like you're a people pleaser and you're trying to always make sure everybody else is happy. Then you're basing your own happiness on your success in making them happy, and that's not success either. So it's really it's a vicious cycle. It's a vicious cycle, and it's hard to jump off that hamster wheel once you're on it, and you don't realize that you're on it because you're in it. Like, you can't see the outside of the picture when you're inside the frame. It's very difficult to see, or the forest from the trees. All of those things, they're true. You really can't. So yeah, that's exactly how I would answer that. I totally define myself by by what I did rather than the person I am.
This year break was quite the shift for you as you went through a lot of emotional layers, but it also pivoted you a very specific direction. Before we get into that, I would love for you to share with our listeners what is something that you learned about yourself during that time that you were recovering and healing and hoping for your voice to come back.
Lori, I don't think at that time I was the student I needed to be to learn the lesson I needed to learn. I will tell you that I wish I could tell you I learned A, B, and C. It wasn't until years later that I began, because I'm not done learning, that I began to learn the lesson within the opportunity that I was given. I'm not going to say obstacle because it's turning your obstacles into opportunities. And the things that happen to you are happening for you. And you're like, I'm good. I don't need this. I'm good. And it's because you're not really doing what you're meant to do. That's why those things keep coming in the way. You're like, oh my gosh, it will show up in a different form, but it'll still be the same kind of thing. I'm like, so it's a matter of seeing it for what it is, and seeing yourself for who you are and what you really want to do, and getting quiet and going within. Sometimes it's that inner voice that creates that fear, and your outer voice that will overcome it. And if you say those, I am, those I am statements are very powerful. What you say afterwards is empowering. But if you say anything negative and those voices are negative, then you're going to be doing the doggy paddle in the water and just staying afloat, but not moving into the place where you need to be and taking the steps that you need to take. So there you go.
I love that, because when you're in those moments, you want to see things, you want to understand, but very often you don't. And you can't possibly see it in that experience.
No, I wish I did. I really wish I could sit here and tell you I saw it, I recognized it, and I acted upon it. That would have been a great thing for me to tell you. I'm not going to tell you anything that's not a fact. And the fact is, I didn't. I'm going to say I even wrote in my book that I made promises when I was able to go back to work. I made promises to God. I made promises to my best friend. And then I promised myself that I would be better and do better. I would take my breaks. I would, drink more water. I would eat better. I would do everything that I needed to do to sustain my body and my health. And I was really, really good at it until I wasn't. I just, in the beginning, I was, because I'm like, there's no way I can go through that again, because I don't think I'll survive it if I do. I'll never forget the first time I had a sore throat after that experience, because that pain was, like I can't barely describe it. It was like knives in your throat 24/7. The first sore throat I got, I said, oh my God, it's happening again. And I was like, and thank God it was just a sore throat. But when you go through something like that, and then you get like even a little scratchiness, you're like, I freaked out. Like, oh my God, I got really scared. I ran back to the doctor. I said, what's wrong? Is it, I just was like a mess. But no, Renee, you're good. You're okay. I'm like, okay. It was, and I think anybody after 4 months of that and not knowing if you're ever going to have a voice again, and being told that this could be permanent, and you don't know if you're ever going to be with the public again, or be able to speak, or life as you once knew it was no more. It was, how are you going to survive in this thing called life? What are you going to do? What's it going to look like? It's a scary time. As I said, when you don't give up, and you are surrounding and continue to surround yourself, I'm not going to say like-minded, like-hearted people, and have a supportive family and friends. They say family, friends who are like family. You can get through it, and you will. And it's not giving up and having that resiliency within you to fight as hard as you can through whatever challenge, an opportunity that you're going through, because there's a reason. And again, you don't know it, but there's a reason, and it's to be here, to be that, for me, the vessel with a voice.
Amen. You have a book out now. You're a motivational speaker and a coach. Now, that's taken you a little bit of your journey of healing to get here, but I would love for you to share with our listeners, from the time you lost your voice to where you are now, what steps you took, small step by small step, to get to what you're passionate about and sharing today.
Thank you, Lori. this is the birth of my book. So it is called Thank You, Finding Your Voice, Unlock Your Chains, and Unleash Your Greatness. That is a picture taken in Newport Beach, California, where my best friend and I used to go. And I chose that place because it meant so much to me, because we enjoyed the time together there, and it was the beach. The water is always so relaxing and invigorating for me and calming for me. So I knew that that was a place I wanted to take this picture, and I knew the pose I wanted to take, because there's pictures that we took down in San Diego, and she was sitting on a rock with her hands in the air, and then I did the same thing, and I said, and that would be really amazing, because it's like looking up to the heavens and finding your voice, and you're getting it back in a way that I didn't know I ever would or could. And I'm proud of this book for many reasons. First and foremost, because this is a way, like I said, through the power of your words, you can make an impact on other people's lives, and you can reach more people. And this is a way to do it and to impact and inspire more lives. And the book itself, it's a short read. It's 83 pages. For those divine people out there, 8 and 3 is 11. You can't plan the number of pages you're going to have in a book, and 11 is a very, very divine number. So it has that. There's takeaways at the end of each chapter, and I leave like 3 to 4 lined pages for the readers to write their answers on, and they're not random questions. It's like the way I post content every day on social media. I love quotes. I put a quote, the title, the quote, and then the content. Well, that's how I did my book. And after each chapter, this was a way for me to take my reader's hand and walk their journey with them, so they're not alone. And for them, when they read the chapter, to see how that pertains to them in their life, whatever it is I was talking about in each chapter. And the book is not a sad book about Renee losing her voice, and it was so hard. The first chapter, which is a few pages, I introduce what happened, and then that's it. The rest of it are little stories within the book. There's one about something that took place with me and my mom, and there's another one about meeting Jack Canfield, that I had him on my vision board and thought I would, how am I ever going to meet this man? And then I get invited to an author weekend summit in San Diego. I show up there. Who is one of the speakers who I didn't know that was going to be there on the third day? Jack Canfield. And what happens, I'm not going to tell you because it's in the book. I was about to say, like, no, they have to read it. They have to read the book and give away the whole thing there. It's only in one chapter, but I'm not going to tell you. So you will read it. And it's really about that. So there are parts in the book where you will probably say, oh my God, that's so sad that she felt that way about herself. And there's other parts where you will laugh and go, that's really funny. I can't believe she even shared that with us, because I'm very vulnerable. It's real raw Renee, it's got to be that, because that's the only way you can help other people, is if you are real and vulnerable and transparent, because the people that need to hear the messages won't hear it if you're saying, oh, everything is wonderful and this is what I did. No, that's not what life is about. There's the ebb and flow of life, and things aren't always, the unicorns and everything that's the rainbows and unicorns. It's not. There are some crappy times in our life, and it's like, what about those times? How are you then? What did you do then? And that's, again, the way to get my voice out there, to serve and support other people who are needing that support. So that's what this book is about, and it's to help you, the reader, my reader, to go through this and allow me to be there with you and for you. So that's what that is.
And that is called, for those who are listening in, Finding Your Voice, Unlock Your Chains, and Unleash Your Greatness. And we'll have the link down below in comments, so it's an easy access to find her beautiful book.
And I also want to give a shout out to a few people. There's a lot of people who endorse the book. Forbes Riley is a dear friend of mine, and she was one of the endorsers of the book. Shay Vaughn, Vince Vaughn's mother, was another. And it was interesting because, and there's Forbes endorsement on the back. I didn't know. I knew I wanted her to endorse the book. I didn't know how it was going to happen. And I was invited to a party the night before a big event, and I showed up early. And then nobody was really there at the time because I was that early. Then, like 10 minutes after I walked in, who walks through the door, but Forbes and her fiance Joshua. And I'm like, oh my God, how did this happen? She lives 3,000 miles away from me. I'm in California. She lives in Florida. How is this possible? I mean, I was like, you're doing one of these with your eyes, like, how? I can't believe. I said, Renee, don't run up to her like an idiot. I said, just stand here. Don't be a dork. Just stand here, and she will see you because like nobody else is here. She can't miss you. And she did. She looked up after she said hello to everybody at the door, and she came over to me, and then I told her about the book, and I asked her if she would endorse it, and she so graciously agreed. And I was just really, really happy. And a quick story about that. When she asked me the title, I told her, and she asked me the subtitle, and then she said, you have to change it. It was not Unlock Your Chains and Unleash Your Greatness. It was something else. And the first thing she says to me is about changing it. And I was like, oh my God. Like, I didn't say that to her, but inside I'm like, holy crap, she's telling me to change it. I've had this subtitle in my head forever. Now she's telling me to change it. If it was anybody else, I probably would have let it go in one ear or the other. But it was Forbes, who was extremely successful in her business and her life. And not that she's not had any bumps along the way. She most certainly has. But I also knew that she was someone I needed to listen to. And she never gave me any hint of what I should call it. She just said, change it. I'm like, there's no help with what I should change it to. There's not even like, you should think about this or that. Nothing. Thanks, Forbes. But she made me think, like, and so I went out for a run the next day. I love being out in nature. I love fitness. And I went out and I stood under a tree. I did some grounding work afterwards, and it came to me of what I should call it. And it's unlock your chains and unleash your greatness. So there you have it.
I love it. You are doing some coaching as well, and there's certain sections that you would like to talk about. I would love for you to share with our listeners what they can look forward to within these courses.
I love to connect with people who are looking to find their voice in life, in business, because I do come from corporate, and I'm also an entrepreneur, so I know both sides of that. And it's not a DIY. It's one-on-one coaching. I've done group coaching as well, but at this point, I've been more focused on the one-on-one because I believe, especially women, that's my main niche, is women need that one-on-one time to really take their hand and be there, like my best friend was for me during my journey, and to give them that time. So it's a 90-day coaching class it's one-on-one right now, as I said, one-on-one coaching that I offer. And I would love to offer that to your audience and those who feel the need to connect and say, you know what, she gets me. She really gets me. And I would love to connect. So there's a 30-minute complimentary consultation I offer, and we will have the link to connect with me here so you can reach out. I really encourage you to do that, to see what's possible, because I didn't think anything was possible. I didn't know how I was going to get out of where I was, but I want to be able to let you know that you can, and then I can help you through this time, because as I said, it's not easy and it takes commitment. So if you're really ready to step out of your comfort zone and into your confidence and be vulnerable with me and know that you're with a safe person in a safe space, I'm ready to open my arms and welcome you.
Do you remember, Renee, that moment when you got your voice back?
Lori, it wasn't a moment. It was moments. It was work, a lot of work. Our vocal cords, and I wrote this in the book, that if you Google it, it's like a rubber band. And there are these two cords, okay, vocal cords, that are on either side of each other. And as I was doing my exercises, it's a muscle, right? And we have our muscles, and when we don't use them, they atrophy. Well, mine hadn't been used in months. And it wasn't like a whisper, like when you have laryngitis. This is a viral pharyngitis that literally took away my ability to communicate through my voice box. I didn't have it to use. So this was a muscle that needed a lot of work. And when I had gone through to the specialist and they realized that it wasn't going to be permanent damage, I was sent to a vocal coach, and it was a long journey home. like I said, it was close to a year. And she gave me some amazing tools to use. So it wasn't one moment, I could say, because when I started speaking again, when I started putting noise out there, it wasn't pretty. It was squeaky. Didn't sound like me. Um, it would go in and out like a rubber band, like when you stretch it in and out, it would do that. I would talk and then it would leave. I would go into air. It would literally go into air. It was like nothing came out. It was no longer like, okay, I need to rest now. I need to just, be quiet. So in losing my voice, it was to find my voice both physically, but also metaphorically in the way it was lost. I needed to find it again.
I love how you bring up that it was a lot of moments, as that's what life is about. Like a lot of moments of work and showing up consistently, and years of doing that to get to your desired outcome.
It really is. You know what you want. They say start with the end in mind. I didn't really know there was an end, but I knew that I could heal. As soon as I heard those specialists saying it's not permanent, then I was like, okay, okay. I never in the beginning, when I tell you, when I didn't ever think it was like, when I first lost, I never thought, well, this is permanent. I'm like, well, I'm sick. I'm going to get better. Like, I didn't think it was anything that was not going to be until I heard this might be permanent damage. I'm like, what? Like my your thoughts become things. It was never a thought that it was going to become a thing that I wouldn't speak, because that's what I love to do. And I love to inspire other people and impact other lives. And the fact that was a possibility that I would no longer be that Renee, that person who I defined myself as. And I had to redefine and refine who I was as I was becoming who I was meant to be.
I love your heart and I love your voice. Thank you so much for sharing both with us today, Renee. We're going to take it to the inner child question segment. Are you ready?
I'm ready. I don't know. I think I'm ready. I'm ready, Lori. I love you. I'm ready.
Buckle up. Here we go, Renee. First question. What is something that you would like to try but have not yet?
Oh, what would I like to try but have not yet? I do know. I have it on my vision board. TEDx.
Yes. Would it be the finding your voice? Would that be the message?
Absolutely. To go on a TEDx stage, because that's a very big platform, and I am always desiring to be on big platforms to get my voice out there to impact more lives. And the more I can do that, the more people that I can touch and let them know that there is a way out from where they are, and to help them become who they were meant to be as I continually become who I am meant to be and serve those people. It's never that, it's always about the journey. It's not, they say that it's not the destination. It really is about the journey. I remember I bought this pillow years ago. I was shopping one day and I'm like, I don't need a pillow. And it says joys in the journey. I'm like, how did I? And anyway, that was before this journey began. And I don't know why I bought that pillow, but now I realize like why I bought it. But it really is the journey, and it's not always joyful, but it's when you can find, at the time you're going through it, but the joy is in the journey. In hindsight, and looking back at where I was to where I am, and who I was and who I am becoming, I'm not the same person of who I was when I started this journey. So the joy really is in the journey, but it's being able to look back upon it and seeing your progression of who you are becoming in the process, and gives you more compassion where you thought you had it and maybe you didn't have it in the same way, for yourself first and foremost, so you can have it for others in other ways. It's really an interesting take on things, and it's perception and perspective.
Absolutely. It is almost Thanksgiving. So, what is your favorite dish that you like to eat the most?
Oh, well, gosh, my mom, I'm going to be spending it with her this year, and I'm grateful for that. So that's the first thing I want to give thanks to for her being here and everything she's done to support me on my journey. So that's the first thing to give thanks for that and my family. And the dish, gosh, she makes this like it's a noodle pudding thing where it's like noodles and um it's just it's really tasty, and pineapple and cinnamon. It's very tasty. It's
Ooh.
only on holidays. It's really delicious. And she bakes it, so it's not anything fried. So it's still you can still say it's healthy in a way, and it's yeah, it's really tasty. So I love that. So it's very good. And then she makes a cranberry dish with cranberries, mandarin oranges, and walnuts and strawberries. It's also a very yummy dish. So there's the fixings that I like that she makes along with the turkey. So
My mouth is watering now. Sensory details are coming in for sure with the pineapple and the cranberry.
it's really tasty.
Mm. Do you have, still to this day, a favorite toy that you used to like when you were a kid and still reminisce about now?
Oh, a favorite toy that there was this doll that I had that it reminded me of my grandma, who's um, not with us anymore. It's been many years since she's passed. It was I was 6 years old when she passed, but I remember her like she's standing in front of me. That's how much she made a tremendous impact in my life. To this day, I remember her vividly. And there was this doll that I got that reminded me of her. It was this big. She had this like a wedding dress, train, and she sat in the middle of my bed uh, when I was on this beautiful red bedspread. And then there was this other doll that I don't even know the name. It was one of those. It was a battery operated thing where you put the cards one way and she would say like she liked it or she didn't like it. It was like it was an interesting thing. I'm like I don't know why that sticks in my head, but I think it was like saying yes to things. And when she was happy and she said yes, I always want to make sure. Look, I was pleasing my doll. I wanted to make sure she was happy. I wanted to turn the cards the way yeah, that I should have known. That was the beginning of the people pleasing. You wanted your dog to say yes. That to me, as I'm speaking, like that that should be the red flag when I was probably 7 years old, looking for my doll to be happy. Oh my goodness! Wow! If we only knew. What would you tell your younger self? Stop people pleasing. Take care of yourself, for gosh sakes. Oh my goodness, that's funny. I always want to make sure she was happy. Like, take these cards, and so she should say yes instead of no. That is really funny that I'm even saying that. You never know that, but that was something a memory.
Always learning, like you mentioned before, Renee. Always
Oh
learning.
goodness, I'm being vulnerable, right? I'm telling you about this thing. Wow, that was my first sign that I didn't know was a sign.
Your yaha moment.
Unbelievable.
It has been such a pleasure being with you today, Renee. Thank you for sharing your heart and your voice and being here with us. Where can our listeners find you if they would like to connect with you?
Absolutely, Lori. Thank you for asking. They can go to Instagram and they can click on my link tree in Instagram, and you will see all my social media links there. Instead of saying I'm all over which I am on all social media platforms, but if you go to my link tree, that will take you everywhere you want to go, and you can go to my website. You can schedule your 30-minute consultation. You could also put in the word voice if you want me to reach out to you. If you're not really comfortable reaching out to me, let me know that in our chat, and then I will make a point to reach out to you. But certainly my Calendly link is on there too. When you go to schedule, you can do that there too. So
Perfect. And we will add all those links in the comments below. And before we leave today, what advice can you give to our listeners about treasuring your voice?
don't take anything for granted. Your voice is a vibration. And it's the words that you speak are powerful. Before you speak, and I still work on this, try to think what you say and how you say it to people, because they could be hurtful words that you don't mean in that way. The words you speak to yourself, first and foremost, are the most important. We are careful more with the way we handle other people and what we say sometimes, but not as kind to ourselves. You're sooner to put yourself down than you are to put a friend down. You're going to uplift your friend before you uplift yourself. So I would say reverse it and be that friend to yourself. The words of advice and encouragement you give to others with your voice, turn it back into yourself.
Thank you so much again, Renee. And thank you for all of those who have been listening in today. Before you go about the rest of your week, remember to look for the things that are working all around you. Your voice matters. You make a difference. And we will see you right back here next Monday at 1 o'clock p.m. Mountain Standard Time with DP Lyle next week. Have a beautiful rest of your week and see you next week all.
Thank you so
Bye,
much,
Renee.
Marie. Mwah.